Hello, everyone, and welcome to our District Administration Web Seminar here today, which is entitled Simplifying Assistance for Your McKinney Vento Qualified Students, which is brought to you by the generous support of our sponsor here today, Transact. Now, before we get started, I would like just to share a few housekeeping items with you all. If at any time you need any technical support today, please use the chat panel, which you can find. It's on the bottom right side of your screen. Then select on my name, which is Stephen Blackburn, and then type in your message and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. I'm also about to submit a phone number and access code in the chat that you can dial in if you want to listen in privately, or maybe if you don't have any speakers. So look out for that. We will also be welcoming any questions that you have today with a Q&A session that will be happening at the end of the presentation. You can submit a question by using the Q&A panel, which again you can find at the bottom right side of your screen, and then send your questions to all panelists. If you currently don't see the chat or the Q&A panels, look again to the lower right side of your screen, and then click on the expand triangle, and that is located directly in front of the panel name, and that will make sure you have access to it. Also, the last point I'd like to make is that if you would like to access the webinar today at a later time, you'll be pleased to know that everyone who is here today and everyone who registered will receive an email with a link to the slides as well as an archive recording. And now it is my pleasure to introduce to you our speakers here today. We have Lynn Russo, who is a Senior Account Manager for HIMSS, or Homeless Information Management System for Students. We have Joe Cahan, who is the Senior Advisor for HIMSS, and Philip Smith, who is the Account Executive for HIMSS, AS21, and ActPoint KPI. Well, hello, and we're glad to have you with us here today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Stephen. Very glad to be here as well. And we're excited to present today about how to simplify assistance for McKinney Vento qualified students. And good morning, good afternoon to everyone that's on the webinar today. For our presentation today, we will highlight a few major topics. First, what are some of the trends we've seen across the country when it comes to students identified as McKinney Vento eligible? Second, what are some of the challenges homeless liaisons face? And third, how the HIMSS software system positively impacts communication and collaboration for the benefit of students experiencing homelessness. We have a 3-question poll that will appear at the right, and we'd like to learn a little bit more about you all and your challenges. Please respond to that poll in the next few minutes, and we'll share the results in a little bit. Also, as Stevie mentioned, we love some interaction during the webinar. So if you have questions or comments as we go along, please enter them in the Q&A section, and we'll either pause during the webinar to answer those or do so at the end. The Homeless Information Management System for Students, or HIMSS, is a data management system created for and by homeless program administrators to reduce the time and cost associated with student data collection requirements under the McKinney-Vento Act. It is more than software, though. It has been designed to facilitate and streamline the process for getting needed services to students experiencing homelessness. HIMSS is one of the many software systems offered through Transact Communications. Transact was founded over 25 years ago to help administrators manage complex requirements for compliance and collaboration on forms, fees, federal program reporting, and ultimately for parent engagement. Transact Communications staff includes a former director of federal programs at a state education agency, many former educators, nonprofit employees, and business leaders. So this is not breaking news to anyone on the webinar, but the pandemic, as we know, has had a massive impact on the number of families experiencing homelessness, as well as the ability of school district staff to identify students who are experiencing homelessness. Let's do a high-level review of that impact. As we know, the pandemic caused disruption for schools, students, and families across the board, but especially for students experiencing homelessness. As a result, the number of students identified as homeless has gone down significantly. According to an April 2022 New York Times article, a study found that early in the pandemic, 28% of McKinney-Vento students had disappeared from the list of homeless students. Many other media outlets reported on the unique challenges of both schools and students experiencing homelessness during the pandemic as well. In our frequent conversations with district homeless liaisons across the country, many, if not all, say they know there are more kids experiencing housing instability and eligible for McKinney-Vento services, but that are not being counted. In state after state, the data collected indicated a drop in the number of students being identified and thus being eligible for important services. For example, the state with the highest number of public school students in the country, California, reported nearly 23,000 fewer McKinney-Vento eligible students between the 2019-20 and the 21-22 school years, a drop of about 12%. There are probably many reasons for the decrease in students. Hopefully some of them were positive, for example, the eviction moratorium, but some of the decrease is undoubtedly due to kids not being in school and thus not being as easily identified as experiencing homelessness. Unless the pandemic has exacerbated the challenge already existing for school district staff working to support students experiencing homelessness, both in identifying them as well as communicating with those inside and outside the school district that provide them the essential services they need. The HIM system can help reduce those communication challenges, which we will show later. So in our poll, we had a couple questions there. What is your role? Let's see. Sorry, Stephen, I'm not seeing the results here.
Oh, hey, yeah, I just launched it now.
Oh, okay, good. So folks, you take a moment, please, and fill out this quick poll. That would be great. And then we'll just pause for a few seconds here and see what those results are.
So, yeah, we have about 20 seconds left. Seeing a lot of responses, which is good.
And if there are any other challenges that for number 3 that people want to type into the Q&A, that'd be great as well. We could talk about those a little bit later.
All right, they should be up now.
Great. Well, thanks, folks. So 38% of folks on the call are McKinney-Vento liaisons, and 38% up a tie with our other administrators. We have a pretty good split of experience, 22% with under a year. Welcome to your new role. Hopefully, if you were in there the past year, you're doing okay. And then 34% with 7 or more years of experience. So that's great. And some of the primary challenges, 52% saying getting teachers and school staff more able to more readily identify McKinney-Vento students is the top challenge that you're having. Having enough resources and connecting kids and services come in a close second and third. So again, thank you for that information. That's very, very helpful for us and just for everybody to get to know folks a little bit more on the poll. And from there, I will turn it over to Lynn if she was able to join us. Otherwise, Philip's going to take it away.
Oh, hey, Philip, you're currently muted. Sorry.
Thank you for that. Apologies. It wouldn't be a webinar without doing you're muted conversation there. So unfortunately, Lynn is unable to make it to the webinar today. So I'll be going through her slides and and unless she is able to join us here. But what we're going to do now is look at the challenges that many McKinney Vento liaisons face, and we've got some statistics that kind of coincide with the information that we just shared for you. So the next slide here, I will hit the next slide button. There we go. I apologize. So McKinney Vento liaisons have many challenges. In fact, a recent survey that's again very similar to the one that we just went through, that we did with a state education agency partner that we have in the Midwest a couple of years ago, found some pretty similar information to what we see in the poll. So this poll, or this survey that was done, looked at 47 different school districts. They represented over 70% of the statewide McKinney Vento eligibility, and included districts in 23 total counties. And this study was actually used to help essentially look at ways that the state could help with the ARP funding that was coming through. And what they found was that of all of the McKinney Vento liaisons that they received responses from in the 47 school districts, less than 12% of those had a student services background. And that really speaks to some of the experience, the experience level that McKinney Vento liaisons typically come into the job with. In fact, 50% or fewer had 2 years. I'm sorry, 50% had 2 years or fewer experience, and actually 75% had less than 5 years of experience. So what that indicates is, unfortunately it's a high turnover role, and face a lot of different challenges with training that is sometimes very sparse. And then lastly is less than 3% of the respondents had a full-time McKinney Vento liaison role, meaning 97% of those McKinney Vento liaisons were, community coordinator, foster liaison, you name it. And so what this really tells us is that the homeless liaisons that are out working in school districts and out in the field, they have very little experience typically, and they wear many, many different hats. Their top request for help was assistance connecting students with services and community support. So pretty similar again to some of the things that we saw in our poll. So let's not kind of sugarcoat this. McKinney Vento liaisons job roles are incredibly challenging. There are many unique challenges to the role. Here are some of the ones that we've found in our work with McKinney Vento liaisons. So one is working with families going through these circumstances can be incredibly draining and challenging. Each family has, a level of trauma that they might be going through. Each family has unique needs, and it can be really challenging to find those resources to assist families. Second is, students, McKinney Vento students are highly mobile. This is a very highly mobile population. And they move around quite a bit. They might move from one school to another, even district to district. We see that quite a bit. So students, it takes time to build up the trust with students. And when they move from one place to another, it can be challenging to kind of keep up with them. We hear from McKinney Vento liaisons when they are first looking at our solution that they are typically the last person to know when a student has transferred or withdrawn from the district. And so that's another way that HIMSS can help. So when a new student comes in, learning what resources to connect them with, it just takes a lot of time. And then lastly, students just don't want to be identified, especially those older students. They're not going to raise their hand and say, yep, I'm experiencing homelessness. They may not even know that they're experiencing, that they're McKinney Vento eligible because they're staying with a friend or even another family member. But in fact, they are McKinney Vento eligible. And when enrolling in a new district, those families that are experiencing homelessness that have gone from maybe one district to another, they're less likely to, re-identify. They're reluctant to state that they're experiencing homelessness. And this can really have a significant impact on students as they won't receive the services that they need and won't receive the services that they're required to by law. So homeless liaisons that we work with, when they come to us initially, we say that they're working on McKinney Vento Island. And it's not the newest kind of matchmaking show where everyone goes onto an island and they're all McKinney Vento liaisons. No, this is what we call when McKinney Vento liaisons are kind of in their own communication silo. They feel like many McKinney Vento liaisons feel like they're stuck on their island because of the lack of communication and collaboration. And so they have little access to data, and they have challenges when it comes to service coordination. So this is what we typically hear. They don't have access to real-time data. There's no system that gives them that real-time information about students that are experiencing homelessness. There's no information, or there's no system that feeds them that information. There's significant service coordination challenges. Just trying to arrange transportation can be a back and forth process. And sometimes McKinney Vento liaisons never know if transportation has actually been fully set up without a lot of legwork and a lot of due diligence on their end. And monitoring and reporting can be just a challenge. There's no single location where all this student data is stored. So that's where HIMS, or Homeless Information Management System for Students, comes in. We have a software tool that solves many of the issues we've discussed, and we'll go through some of those now. Effective communication between all district stakeholders is imperative when it comes to helping students experiencing homelessness. Better communication can be facilitated by technology that sends notifications to different partners. And what does that look like? Well, HIMS helps by breaking down communication silos with tools like this. The ability to receive information from many district stakeholders, different access levels to different records based on security level, and then as a McKinney Vento liaison, you can review notes and conversations that service providers have put into the system. Collaboration is also incredibly important when working with McKinney Vento students. There are certain providers that by law you will need to work with. Some liaisons will even work with community partners to provide services. This is a double-edged sword though, because the more people you work with, the more you have to coordinate with them. HIMS helps solve these issues in these ways. HIMS allows specific stakeholders to have access to standardized data that is collected each time a student is identified. The ability to update, to have up-to-date and accurate information about each student, including demographics, the McKinney Vento related information, and if there are other household members with that student. And then each user has the ability, has the capability to see how a student is being served. So what community partners are involved, what district services are being involved, all of that can be tracked in the system. HIMS is a cloud-based product. There are no specific hardware, nothing in terms of devices that you must have to use this software. You access it through a web browser. We make automatic updates to the software every 4 to 6 weeks. These are all included in your software license, so there's no extra fees to get the latest functionality. It's all included. Users have the same to similar experience across many different types of devices. This includes mobile phones, tablets, devices, anywhere that you have an internet connection, you'll be able to use HIMSS. Transact is the leader in K-12 data security. We employ a former CIO at a major university as our head of data security, and we've put into place policies and procedures to meet or actually exceed many of the national and international data standards. We've never had a data breach, and we take many precautions to ensure that the data you store on our servers is safe. This includes encrypting data in transit and at rest. Our software will make your spreadsheets, Google Docs, Post-it notes, and paper forms completely obsolete. Attendance calculations alone are frequently beyond the capability for many programs. So IT requires complex knowledge. We're going to increase the accuracy of the data that you collect by providing one system that manages student and parent data, collects data about services that students receive, and generate essential reports all in one system. And we really pride ourselves in the support that is provided to our users. Every new program that we work with gets personal training and support. Our customer service is all US based. Everyone has someone that they can call and get access to and get assistance from. We have a system that helps track all of the tickets that are created, all of the issues that might come up, and all of our customer support staff, which is about 20 staff strong, are here to help as you go through the process. So what I'm going to do now is switch over screens and share with you actually what the software looks like. So bear with me as I go through that. So if you don't see that on your screen now, please type that into the QA bar or into the chat. But what we have landed on here is the dashboard. And I want to make one thing clear as we start to review this is we are looking at this from the lens of a system administrator. A system administrator is someone that has access to everything. If I go up to the top right-hand side of the screen and click Change Credentials, you can see we have different security levels. So we even have, we work with state education agencies. We have that state level of access. We have a district liaison access who has access to all of the information for every single site. We might have district staff or social workers that have less and less access to student records or to information that's stored in the site. We track everything on a term basis, so that means every single school year you'll have a different term, and you'll be able to toggle and actually go back in time if you'd like to review information. In addition to that, our reports are also date constrained, so you'll be able to choose the actual date and time period that you want, and certainly run across multiple terms for many of our reports. All of the different sites that you have, these are going to be typically your school sites that you have in the district. So we will load those up into the system, and this allows you to view everything in aggregate as well as drill into an individual school site. So today we're actually going to view the information for Bale Elementary School. When I hit save and close, our dashboard is going to reorient around the information for just our school site, Bale Elementary. You can see in this dashboard, we have some useful high-level information. So for the students that are experiencing homelessness, here's ethnicity, LEP status, registration by grade level. There are other charts that I can add to this here in my registration tab. And these charts are can be added by permission level and be configured by an individual user. So each user might have a different configuration of their dashboard. If I drill into any of these charts, I can see the actual data that makes that up. And I can see I am missing some data on a few of my students here. So I might want to drill into some of these and look at them. But I can also just take a look at every single student that has been identified or is pending identification. And I can actually export this in Excel, PDF, or many other data types. I can copy it over or print it off. So that's our dashboard. And again, it's designed to give us a very high level view of what's going on at an individual school site. The main navigation is on the left-hand side of the screen. And so today we're going to just do a couple of high-level components here. So we're going to look at program information, registration, and then our reports and search capability. A lot of other capabilities in the system, a lot of other features. If you'd like more information or like to get deeper into this, please let us know. We'd be happy to review that with you. You can see I've got a warning here up in program information. And so this is going to alert me that I've got to first take a look at this. So up in this card, we can see I have a student that is pending, a student or students that's pending approval. And so what has happened here is overnight, in the last 24 hours or so, there's been a student that has been designated as McKinney Vento eligible in our student information system. And so when that happens, all of their information is fed over into the HIMSS system. And not only do we see this alert, but we also have an email that will state this as well. So we'll know whenever there's a new student that has been identified. In addition to that, whenever a student withdraws from the district or transfers from one school site to another, that's the same process. If we see that in the student information system, we will alert you via email, and you'll also receive one of the alerts as you log in. To review our students, so we've got a number of students that have been identified here recently, and they're all pending approval. And so as a McKinney Vento liaison, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into their record, and I'm going to start to kind of do my due diligence here. So there's some basic information that has been passed along. This information may have come directly from the Student Information System update, but I'm going to want to know things like what's their primary nighttime residence. So Christopher here is in a hotel or motel, but I don't know my reason for homelessness. So as a McKinney Vento liaison, these are some of the things that you would probably do before actually approving the student as experiencing homelessness and get them into the HIMSS system. Other things, so services provided. What are the things that Christopher's going to need to be successful? These are some examples. All of these things can be customized to the things that you provide. Are there service documents that we need? So these things, maybe we have these already, or maybe we need to get them. So these fields here will help us kind of go after the information that we need. Any service barriers? Is Christopher unaccompanied, IDEA? Now, down here with transportation and child nutrition. So if transportation is requested by Chris or his parent guardians, then this is where we can start to automate some of the communication. So for example, Chris is going to need transportation services. We provide all of our services here in district. So this would actually send a notification to our transportation contact and say, hey, Chris needs pickup and drop off, and start that process of getting Chris set up for transportation services. There are other options here. You can see some of those that are on this, but we can really help streamline communication again when students are first identified. Same situation with child nutrition. If you're at a district where you have reduced price or paid meals, this will send a notification to the child nutrition representative, and it will ensure that Chris now receives free meals. We can also add any comments. And then once I've approved this, then what's going to happen is if we also have a social worker, a counselor, or someone that works at a particular site where Chris is going to be enrolled, they will also receive a notification. So again, what we're trying to do is break down those communication silos and increase collaboration through the use of HIMSS. Now, once a student is identified, we're going to go into an individual record. So here's all of the students that have been either approved or are pending approval. And today we're going to look at Jeffrey Rhodes here. And so you can see that Jeffrey has recently been approved. And here's that homeless student form that was filled out. So we have all of that basic information. But in addition to all of that basic information is a lot more information that can come over via that student information system integration. So things like demographic information, things like contact information, things like the date of birth and some of that core basic student information, all of that's going to come over so you have the latest data on any of the students that you're serving. We can also add other fields. So some of the fields that you see on here are optional. So transportation home, academically gifted, and then contact lists. So the fields that we collect data on, we can turn on or off a lot of these fields. And this allows you to really customize what information you would like to collect. In addition to all of this basic information, we can also designate household members. So maybe Jeffrey here has a sibling, Ashton. So we've actually connected them as a household, and that allows us to do a couple of things. So Jeffrey, if we make him the head of household, anytime data is changed on Jeffrey's record, we will sync that to Ashton's record. So a mailing address changes for Jeffrey, that's going to be synced to Ashton. We can also take notes as a family and create goals as a family. So for instance, here's Ashton. We have individual notes and messages and contacts for the family. And then we can also take individual notes for Jeffrey and also create individual goals for Jeffrey. So here's our individual goals, notes, and message contacts. Any of this correspondence, I'll just open this up a little bit here. So this can be completely private, so shareable or not. If it's not shareable, then only the person that created this note is going to see it. If it is shareable, then the person that is at that security level or above would be able to see it and has access to the site that Jeffrey's in. So this is a way to really create quick notes, or if you need an actual kind of formal documentation of a contact, you can do that, create goals. It's a really good way to manage case notes for an individual student. Now, what else is here? So we also have the ability to create custom fields. So we know that every single school district provides different types of services, and it can be difficult to track all of those things. The custom fields is actually something that you as a district liaison would have the ability to create, and you can create all different types of fields here, and it tracks exactly what you want. So here in settings, I have the ability to create these custom fields, and you can see some of the different types here. So we've got clothing size, maybe we're providing gift cards. So maybe we want to make sure that we record that we provided a gift card for Speedway in the amount of $25. Maybe we are having some troubles with transportation. So we want to record that transportation it has actually put into place pickup and drop off. So we can designate that and the date that that occurred and save all of these things. So these are going to become really helpful here in a moment as we get into our reporting capability so that we can pull information out. And this is going to really help us make sure that we're doing everything that we can for students. Beyond these custom fields, we have emergency information, we have documentation. Any type of document can be uploaded to the system. If we're going to do referrals, so we've done a referral here for Jeffrey to St. Mary's Hospital. We can actually pull reports to ensure that that Jeffrey actually made it to the appointment or did receive those services. So that's a capability as well. And then lastly here, we have a whole survey creation tool. So for example, you could create a teacher assessment, and this could be emailed out to a teacher on a consistent basis, or maybe annually or quarterly on a semester basis, and a teacher can fill this out, and those survey results will be recorded for Jeffrey in our system. Teacher assessment is just one. Parent-guardian survey, you can have as many types of surveys as you want in the system, and we will send all of that out. Lastly here, the reporting. So lots of different reports that are in this system, everything from attendance to contact information to staff information, but mainly the types of reports that are in the system specifically for students experiencing homelessness are these 4 reports. So this follow-up report is going to show us all of the referrals that we went and that we created, and which ones have actually been completed and which ones are still pending. Our homeless student data summary and detail report, these are reports that are likely going to be ones that provide all of the information that you might need to report to the state or other folks inside of the district. So for example, here in our summary report, this is for our Bale Elementary and Jefferson Elementary, so we can see how many students have been identified in each of these school sites. And then our demographics. So the reasons for homelessness, financial hardship, loss of housing, how many have requested transportation, clothing, nutrition, withdrawn or transferred out. And then as a district, as a whole, we have this information as well. So this is all in aggregate. There's no specific student data that's on this. The detail report is going to go student by student and provide some of the same information. So here's our homeless reason, and then our duplicated and unduplicated totals. And this is going to go, again, student by student. Here's our service documents, what service documents we need, and then any additional information as well. So these are designed to provide more information for the McKinney Vento liaisons. Lots of other reports that are in here. And then if there's a report that doesn't provide exactly the information that you need, you have our really powerful search tool. And this search tool allows you to pinpoint specific information and pull that out from the system. So for example, here's my custom fields that I created. And if I wanted to see who hasn't been contacted yet for my backpack program, we're going to be running a backpack program over the summer, and we want to make sure that for that next school year that everybody has at least been notified and has the potential to receive a backpack with school supplies. So this is going to allow me to pull out those records. So now I can see I've got 4 students here that have not been contacted. And then I have a couple of options here. So I can create a spreadsheet and pull those kids out and put them into an Excel file. That Excel file can have lots of different data types on here, so you can see some of these other ones. So maybe we want the home address or the mailing address. Maybe we want a phone number, who they live with, all of that good information. We can add that to our Excel spreadsheet. The other option that I have, let me go back here and do this again, is to send a mass notification. So HIMSS has the ability to send out an email as long as there's an email address that's associated with the contact record. And we can set that up here in the system. You actually put in your email address, it will look like it came from you, and then you can compose that message. We also have SMS text capability. And again, as long as there's a number that's associated with that record, we can actually send out an SMS text. The text capability is in addition to our service fee, but it's something that has been really effective for keeping in contact. Other ways that you can use the search tool, so maybe you wanted to create file folder labels for specific groups, even mailing labels. Here's our survey links report. So this will actually create individual links for every single contact that you have in there. A demographics report. It's really a powerful tool to help you pinpoint exactly the group that you want that has specific information that you're trying to find. And then all of this is controlled in the settings. And again, this system has been developed so that an administrative user has the capability to make many of the changes on their own. We found over the many years that we've worked with school districts and homeless liaisons that it's better to provide access to these things to the administrators so they don't have to wait for someone to do that, and it might take multiple days or things like that. Our system is highly customizable, and it's customizable by an administrative user. So with that, I want to say thank you for reviewing that with me. I'm going to try to get this back to our PowerPoint presentation.
Well, actually, Philip, before you do that, oh, looks like you did that, but I did have one question before we get into the Q&A.
Yep.
If you could go over another demo. I didn't know if you were able to cover how, HIMSS interacts with with some other software that Transact is partnered with. Is there a way you
Yeah,
could show that?
Yeah, we don't have any direct connections to any of the other like parent notices or any of the other tools that Transact has at the moment. It's certainly something that we see a lot of value in doing. And for example, in our parent notice collection, I think we have about 12 different McKinney Vento specific documents. And I think there's definitely an opportunity for us to add some of those direct capabilities between the two in the future. Not something that we've done yet. We also have transportation tools and transportation routing tools in our transportation or in the Transact family of products. Something that in the future is definitely on the radar.
Awesome.
Did that help answer the question?
Yes, I believe so. Yep. Awesome.
Okay.
And sorry about that. Jumping in there.
Nope, not a problem. Let's see here. So we're back to the PowerPoint.
All right. Well, I guess that's a
our
perfect segue then, since this is the Q&A portion of our webinar. So as I said, you can now submit your questions in. So Joe and Philip, they can answer your questions live on the air. If you haven't already, you can send in all your questions in writing, and you can do that by accessing the Q&A panel that we have. It's right there on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. It's the option next to the chat button. If you can't see it, there should be, it's 3 dots or an ellipses. It's next to the chat button. Click on that, and that should bring you to the Q&A panel. So
yeah, and I think Stephen, I'm going to go back to that question.
oh, sure.
Was the question from Simone Turner about existing software being used, such as the eSchool Plus platform?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so eSchool Plus is a student information system, and the direct answer is we have a specifically with eSchool Plus and for many student information systems, a direct data connection between the SIS and HIMSS. So we do a nightly data transfer from the student information system like eSchool Plus to HIMSS, and that updates information, any of the information that is changed on a record on a nightly basis. The good news is you should never be actually physically entering in data into HIMSS. We should just be pulling it directly from the SIS. That should save you a ton of time, and we'll also give you the latest information on what's going on with a student.
Cool. And it looks like I just got a follow-up to that question about how it talks to the SMS overnight. Can you elaborate on that? Does that create a loss in time to set up supports?
Yeah, I mean, we typically set it up. We can set up the transfer of data at any point during the day. For tools like PowerSchool or eSchool Plus or many of the major student information systems, we do a direct API integration with those student information systems. So typically it is on a nightly basis. There can be some loss of information or delay, I guess is probably the correct term, over that time period. But at most it's going to be a 24-hour delay, but likely a lot less than that.
Perfect. Thank you. And there's a lot of questions coming in, which is great. This next one, I mean, could this software, I don't know if it's being used for that, but would it be ideal for foster children as well? Like, could you see it being utilized that way?
Yeah, we do have a foster designation in the system. What I will say is it is specifically designed to meet McKinney Vento homeless requirements from a reporting perspective. That being said, there's no limit to the number of student records that are put into the system, and you can certainly track different student populations, but it is I wouldn't say that it's necessarily optimized for that. So Joe, anything you want to add to that at all?
No, I think you covered that well. There is a designation to mark a student as a foster student, foster child, but there's no other set reporting or anything in the system at this time.
And it's definitely something that we've talked about a lot. We've heard it as a request quite a bit, and HIMSS is a system that over the next couple of months and even over the next year, we've got a lot that's planned from a software standpoint to do more in HIMSS.
Perfect. And I see a question that came in was answered in text, but I'll just read it aloud just in case anyone else has the same question. So this person asked, can they unsync the automated household address if one sibling goes one location, another goes another location? Joe, I don't know if you want to answer that since you're the one who answered that in writing.
Yeah,
Right.
so, oh, Joe, go ahead.
Sure. I mean, the system all starts with the SIS data. And when that data is synced over to the HIMSS system, the addresses that are in the SIS come into HIMSS. The addresses they will be overwritten in HIMSS from the SIS data. So if they're separate in the SIS for different kids who are in the same household but living at different addresses, they will remain separate. So no worries there. We can connect them by household, but the addresses do not have to be synced up.
Perfect. And just a heads up, we're coming close to the hour, and there's still a lot of questions that we have to go through. Just saying that if it's likely we won't be able to get to all these questions live, but that's completely fine. We at DA will be sharing all the questions that you're submitting here with our friends over at Transact. and they'll be able to answer all your questions in writing following this, just in case we don't get them today. Let's see, another question that came in. Can you run a report on the students' academics improvement on HIMSS? Is that a possibility?
Right now, the data that is coming in from the SIS is not academic data. So any academic data that you would need to report on would be coming from your SIS. There is a potential for some of our other systems, we do import academic data. For HIMSS, it's not one of the standard things that come in every night, but it is possible, but it's not one of the things that we focus on with the HIMSS product.
Yeah, so to summarize, I think a lot of the data that we track for students is data that comes directly from the student information system. And the academic data would have to be uploaded separately from that.
Perfect. All right, let's see another question. So can this all be monitored by, district for multiple schools, or is it like on an individual school basis?
Yeah, so you can definitely track data for an entire school district in here, and in fact that's the way it's really been designed, is so that you can see, kind of top down from the district level, and then down to a school site level, and then down to a student level. And if you're at a large district and you're the McKinney Vento liaison, and you might have hundreds of kids, as an example, you're going to want to see stuff from a higher level, and certainly you have that capability. And then kind of drill down to an individual school site where you might see a trend that's going on, or something that you want to really drill into. You have that capability as well.
All right, let's see another school or district. They're asking, what about their younger siblings that are currently not enrolled? So the younger siblings of current students who aren't enrolled, since at that district, they have to report on those younger siblings as well, even though they're not currently attending. Are you able to do that with HIMSS?
Yeah, so if they're like in a birth to 3 program or something like that, we can certainly track those things. Again, there is no limit to the records, the number of contact records that can be in this system, and you would certainly be able to link up a record that wasn't necessarily enrolled in the district at the moment, but you still wanted to track data on.
Perfect. Let's see, we're coming to the top of the hour, and I just want to be mindful of everyone's time. So I see that there are quite a few questions that we still haven't got to yet, but like I said earlier, if there are any questions we didn't get to today, then us at DA will be sending all of the questions that haven't been answered to Transact, and they'll be willing to get back to your questions individually after today's webinar. And actually, as I go through my closing slides in just a few moments, please feel free to continue submitting your questions, if any come to mind during my outro, and I'll make sure they're sent over to Transact so they can be answered at some point in the future. But first off, thank you again, Joe and Philip, for your time here today. We really appreciate it. And of course, thank you to Transact. And to you, our audience, I would also like to thank you for joining us as well here today. For those of you who enjoyed what you saw here, there are many more upcoming web seminars like this one that are provided by us at District Administration, which is the leader in editorial coverage of news, as well as trends and current issues in the K through 12 space. We have a wide range of readers who subscribe for free to DA, and they stay up to date with us online through our print magazine, our newsletter, and other web seminars like this one. Also, if you would like to watch this web seminar again, or for those of you who believe, that what you saw here today would be helpful to your colleagues, as I'm sure you feel that way, you'll be pleased to know that our team at DA, we will be sending you an email at some point later tomorrow. And in that email, it will include an on-demand recording of this web seminar, as well as a link to the slides. So with that, on behalf of DA, this is Stephen Blackburn. Thanks, everyone. Take care, be well, and stay safe. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.